Launching a piece of content on social media these days, it honestly often feels exactly like setting off a firework. Like you spend all this time building it, you carefully set it up, you light the fuse, and then boom.
Yeah, you get that massive, just bright explosion of engagement.
Right.
You get the dopamine hit,
Right.
the likes, the views, the comments are rolling in. It is this spectacular show for, well, exactly 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours. And it's completely thrilling while it's happening.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there watching the numbers go up, you're constantly refreshing your notifications. But then
Then the feed refreshes one last time.
exactly. The
Yeah.
smoke clears and you're just left with darkness. That incredible video you spent, hours shooting and editing, it just vanishes into the archive.
Yeah.
Gone forever to the relentless algorithmic scroll.
I mean, that is the reality we have been completely conditioned to accept. We've essentially trained ourselves over the last decade to treat social media like a vacuum.
Yeah.
It's this closed ecosystem where content has an incredibly short, almost tragic lifespan. You feed the beast today, because yesterday's meal is already completely forgotten.
But today, we are completely flipping that script, so welcome to the deep dive, because today we are looking at what happens when that social media firework doesn't just fade away, but actually becomes like a permanent lighthouse on the internet.
A lighthouse, yes.
I like that. We are digging into Google's official developer documentation for their July 2026 rollout, alongside some really, really fascinating early beta test data from the marketing agency Socially Buzz. We're looking at the introduction of Google Search Console's new feature, Platform Properties.
And I cannot overstate this. This is a fundamental shift in how we understand digital discovery. It's not just a minor analytics tweak or a fun new dashboard widget. This is the definitive blurring of the line between traditional search engine optimization and social media marketing.
Right?
Those two disciplines are literally colliding right now.
And whether you are a full-time creator, or a performance marketer at an agency, or even just a local business owner trying to get people through your front door, you have absolutely felt the pain of a great post dying on the vine.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has.
Because we measure success in a vacuum, right? Views on TikTok, likes on Instagram, retweets on X. But we've been completely blind to what happens when someone discovers that exact same social content outside the app, like through a simple Google search.
Right. For years, the burning question has been, what happens when your social content leaves the walled garden of its native platform?
Yeah.
And until this specific July update, that question was nearly impossible to answer with any real granular accuracy. You were essentially just guessing.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the practical reality of what Google actually changed here is kind of mind-blowing if you know anything about how website infrastructure usually works.
It really is. I mean, to understand the magnitude of this update, you kind of have to understand the historical context. Traditionally, Google Search Console, which is the dashboard that tells you exactly how you are performing, what queries you rank for, your organic click-through rates in Google, that was strictly reserved for websites.
Right, like traditional .coms.
Exactly. If you didn't own a domain name, if you couldn't manipulate DNS records or, inject HTML tags into a header, you were not getting into this club. It was a highly technical tool built by webmasters, exclusively for webmasters.
Right, you had to literally prove you owned the actual server space. But the big reveal in the July documentation is that this website-only rule has been completely shattered.
Completely.
Search Console now supports 4 specific platforms as standalone properties. So that's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X. You don't even need to own a domain name to use it. You can just plug in your TikTok account.
Which fundamentally democratizes search data. I mean, you are taking enterprise-grade SEO analytics and handing them to like a 19-year-old creator shooting videos in their bedroom.
But hold on, let me push back on this for a second.
Sorry.
If I'm TikTok or if I'm Meta running Instagram, my entire business model relies on keeping people inside my app, right? So I can serve them ads.
Right. Engagement time is everything.
Exactly. So why on earth would I allow Google to crawl my infrastructure, index my creators' content, and potentially pull my users away to a Google search results page? Isn't there a massive conflict of interest there?
It's a really great question, and I think it speaks to the shifting dynamics of the internet as a whole. It's actually a symbiotic relationship now, born out of mutual necessity.
How so?
Well, Google is facing an existential threat because younger demographics are increasingly using TikTok and Instagram as their primary search engines. Like they don't Google things, they TikTok
Oh,
them.
totally. I do that for recipes all the time.
Exactly. So Google literally needs to index short-form video to keep their own search results relevant to how people actually consume information today.
Okay, so that's why Google wants it. And what does TikTok get out of it?
TikTok gets the ultimate top-of-funnel discovery engine. When someone searches for a tutorial on Google and they click a TikTok video in those search results, they are immediately pulled into the TikTok ecosystem.
Ah, I see.
It's essentially free user acquisition for the social platforms.
Yeah.
So they open up the APIs and Google builds out this integration. Everyone wins.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So for the person listening who wants to go set this up right now, the process is surprisingly straightforward. You open Google Search Console, you click Add Property, and instead of typing in a website URL like you used to, you just select the social platform you want to connect.
Right? It's basically a drop-down menu now.
Yeah. And it uses a standard O authorization process. So, you aren't handing over your actual passwords to Google. You're just proving you control the account through official secure channels.
Exactly. It is highly secure. However, there is a crucial operational detail to keep in mind here, which was actually highlighted in that beta test data from Socially Buzz.
Right, the agency data.
Yeah. When they were setting up their initial Instagram properties for their clients, they noted that it can take up to 48 hours for your data to actually start populating in the dashboard.
Oh, wow. Which honestly feels like an eternity in digital marketing time. Why the massive delay?
Because you have to remember the sheer scale of what is happening behind the scenes.
Mm.
You are dealing with massive data pipelines communicating between rival tech giants.
Sure.
Google has to retroactively query its massive index, isolate every single instance where your specific social URL appeared in a search result, aggregate all those metrics, and then push them to your specific dashboard. That kind of data reconciliation, it takes time. It is not instantaneous.
So patience is definitely a requirement, but just think about why this matters for your workflow. If you are a social first brand, right? Like if your entire revenue stream lives on Instagram or TikTok, and you've never even bothered building a complex website, you are no longer flying blind.
No.
You finally have a seat at the adult table of search analytics.
But, and this is a big point, but having a seat at the table is only valuable if you actually understand the conversation.
Fair point.
Once that 48-hour window passes and the data finally populates, what are you actually looking at? Because raw data without interpretation is, well, it's just noise.
So true. So let's peek under the hood at the actual metrics you get. Google has split the new dashboard into 3 distinct views. First, you get the classic performance report. This is the heavy-duty SEO data applied to your social feeds. So you get your impressions, your clicks, your CTR, that's click-through rate, and your average position.
Right. The foundational metrics of traditional SEO now basically mapping the footprint of a simple tweet or, a 15-second reel.
Yeah.
Then you have the Search Console Insights report. This one is designed to be much more digestible for someone who maybe isn't a technical SEO expert.
Which is probably most social media managers, to be honest.
Exactly. It abstracts the raw data and highlights traffic trends. It flags your strongest performing posts, and it gives you an overview of the actual queries, like the exact words people are typing into Google to find you.
And finally, there's the Achievements tab, which tracks long-term milestones. Just kind of a gamification thing. But honestly, it is that Insights report that completely shifts the paradigm. Because here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the example of the Miami restaurant from the beta data.
Oh, this is the perfect illustration of why this update is so disruptive.
Right. So this local restaurant in Miami, they connect their Instagram to Search Console. Previously, they would look at their native Instagram analytics and see that, let's say, a reel about their new brunch menu got 500 views, and then the views flatlined.
Typical firework.
Exactly. They assume the content is dead. Done. But then they open Google Search Console and they realize that same exact reel is consistently generating thousands of impressions on Google. And it's not because people are searching for the restaurant's specific name.
No, they are searching for highly contextual phrases.
Exactly. The report shows them ranking for phrases like best brunch in Miami or Miami birthday restaurants and outdoor dining Miami. People are searching for a specific experience, and Google's algorithm has decided that this restaurant's short-form Instagram reel is a better, more relevant answer than some traditional restaurant website.
What's fascinating here is how this entirely redefines our understanding of a keyword.
Yes.
Because in the traditional SEO playbook, a phrase like outdoor dining Miami was just a target. You'd hand that phrase to your web developer. They would put it in an H1 tag on your homepage, or maybe you would commission a 1,000-word blog post about it. You were basically trying to engineer a page to satisfy the web crawler.
But now that search query is a direct, data-backed creative brief for your social media team.
Precisely. If the data tells you that people are naturally finding your old buried reels when they search for Miami birthday restaurants, your next move is completely obvious. You don't need to guess what content to make next month.
You just make what they're searching for.
Right. You film a new, high-quality reel specifically showcasing your birthday packages. You write an Instagram caption heavily optimized for those exact words. You might even redirect your paid ad spend to target that specific phrase because you already have the empirical proof that the demand exists and that Google favors your content for it.
It transforms social media from an outbound megaphone into an inbound magnet. Like, that reel might have gotten a completely lukewarm reception on the Instagram feed, disappearing in a day, but on Google, it is sitting there generating passive impressions for months.
Which is exactly why we need to pause right here for a serious reality check.
Okay, let's do it.
Because while this sounds incredibly powerful, and it is, there is a very dangerous trap that marketers are going to fall into with this update.
Yeah, we definitely need to address the elephant in the room here, because I can easily see a brand owner listening to this right now immediately rushing to connect their TikTok to Search Console and then just sitting back waiting for their organic traffic to magically skyrocket.
Yep.
But the documentation is explicitly clear on this point. Connecting your account to Search Console does not automatically improve your Google ranking.
It is an analytics tool, not a ranking factor. Google is not rewarding your content with better placement just because you took 5 minutes to authorize an API connection.
Right. It makes me think of it like this. Installing Search Console is exactly like installing a high-tech, incredibly expensive smart thermometer in your house.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The thermometer itself does not magically heat the room. It just tells you, with pinpoint accuracy, exactly where the cold spots are. It gives you the data. But you still have to get up, walk over to the thermostat, and turn on the heater. You still have to do the actual work.
I love that analogy. GSC is just the thermometer. It does not create demand out of thin air. It merely reveals where the search demand already exists.
Yeah.
Google was already perfectly capable of putting TikToks and YouTube Shorts into its search results long before this July update.
Right. We've all seen them in the search results for a while now.
Exactly. This rollout just finally pulls back the curtain so you can see it happening on the back end.
But wait, if I'm looking at my Search Console dashboard and I see that a video got 10,000 impressions yesterday, how do I reconcile that with my native app data? Because my TikTok analytics might say, I only got like 500 views on the For You page.
Ah, that is a critical distinction that the documentation clarifies. Search Console is only showing you data from Google surfaces.
So just Google stuff.
Right. That means Google Search, Google Discover, Google News. It will never show you your native platform views. Google has absolutely no access to your TikTok For You page analytics or your Instagram Explore page metrics. Those are two entirely separate ecosystems. The goal of this tool isn't to give you one master number of all your views everywhere.
The goal is to use the thermometer data to make significantly smarter, more targeted marketing decisions, which naturally leads us to the actual playbook, because knowing your video is visible on Google is really only half the battle. If GSC is just showing us the cold spots, what is the actual heater? How do we take that raw impression data and turn it into meaningful clicks and ultimately revenue?
This is where we get into the actionable strategy, and the first major scenario you will inevitably encounter is the high impression, low click dilemma.
Right. So you open the dashboard and you see that hundreds of people are searching for a specific query. Google is actively serving them your Instagram post as a top result, but your click-through rate is basically 0.
Painful, but common.
Very painful. No one is actually clicking on it. Now, let me challenge this a bit. Isn't this just traditional website SEO all over again? I mean, for 20 years, if a web page had high impressions and low clicks, we just rewrote the meta description and tweaked the title tag. How is this any different for social?
You're not wrong that the underlying mechanics of human behavior are similar to traditional SEO, but the execution is entirely unique to the social media format. If you have a high impression, low click video, the data is telling you two things. First, the algorithm believes your video is the objectively correct answer to the user's question.
Okay.
Second, the human being actually looking at the search results completely disagrees with the algorithm.
Ouch. So the content itself might be great, but the packaging is completely failing to sell the click.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And to fix that packaging, you aren't logging into a CMS to tweak website HTML. You have to look at your social assets. Is the thumbnail blurry or confusing? Is the caption misleading or, truncated weirdly?
Yeah.
Does the opening 3-second hook of the video completely fail to address the actual search query? Think about it. If someone searches how to fix a leaky kitchen faucet, and your thumbnail is just a lifestyle selfie of you smiling in a kitchen,
They aren't going to click it.
no.
Yeah.
Even if the video contains the greatest plumbing advice ever recorded, you lost them at the visual level. You have to optimize the packaging for the search intent, not just the native social feed aesthetic.
That makes total sense. You have to align the visual promise with the search query. But it's
Yeah.
not just about fixing the packaging on what's currently trending, right? What happens when you see this exact same data spike on a video you posted like 6 months ago? Because this is the strategy that gets me the most excited, dealing with zombie content coming back to life.
Oh, it requires a massive mindset shift because search demand behaves fundamentally differently than the social feed.
Exactly. I mean, I am so guilty of this. I post something, I watch it for its 24-hour dopamine cycle, and then I just mentally discard it. I literally never think about it again. But search demand is driven by human curiosity, which is cyclical, seasonal, and honestly entirely unpredictable.
You might have an archival post from a year ago that suddenly starts getting a massive spike in Google traffic because of, I don't know, a shifting news cycle, a new cultural trend, or even just a seasonal change like summer starting.
Right.
The worst thing you can do is just sit there, watch those numbers go up, and pat yourself on the back. You have to act on it.
So what is the tactical response there? If I see a dead post suddenly surging in Search Console, what do I actually do?
You cross-pollinate and you update.
Mm-hmm.
First, go into the native app and pin that original post to the top of your profile to capture any residual traffic.
Smart.
Then, produce a follow-up piece of content immediately. Make a new video saying, hey, a lot of you are suddenly finding my old video about this topic again. Here's the updated context for 2026.
Or even take it off social entirely, right? If the search volume is that high, that's your signal to turn that topic into a long-form blog post, a dedicated deep dive episode, or even a lead generation email campaign.
Exactly. The social feed is about what is happening right this very second. The search feed is about what is objectively relevant, regardless of when it was actually published.
It really is the firework versus the lighthouse, which honestly exposes a much larger inefficiency in how we distribute our marketing budgets. Which brings us to the final major strategy: platform comparison without all the guesswork.
This might actually be the most financially impactful part of the update. Historically, businesses have constantly guessed where to invest their time and their ad spend. They operate entirely on assumptions.
Right. How many times have you heard a brand say, well, our target demographic uses Instagram, so let's just dump our entire Q4 budget into Instagram Reels?
Way too often. But with platform properties, you can actually lay your channels side by side in Google Search Console and compare their search performance objectively. And when you do that, you often discover a really fascinating split in user intent.
Give me an example of how that intent splits in the real world.
Let's say you run a fitness brand. You might look at your dashboard and discover that your Instagram account generates a massive number of overall impressions on Google for broad lifestyle searches, things like summer workout aesthetic or gym outfits.
Okay, very visual stuff.
Exactly. The volume is huge, but the click-through rate is low. But then you look at your YouTube property in Search Console. It generates significantly fewer total impressions, but it boasts a massively higher click-through rate for deep educational searches like how to fix deadlift form or kettlebell routine for beginners.
Oh, because the psychological mindset of the searcher changes completely based on what they want in that moment. Like, if I just want quick visual inspiration, I'm going to click the Instagram link in the search results.
Right.
But if I want a detailed step-by-step tutorial, my brain is already primed to click the YouTube link.
Exactly. And once you have that empirical data in front of you, you stop wasting your creative energy. You stop trying to force long-form educational tutorials onto Instagram where the search intent just doesn't match. And you stop putting short, purely aesthetic lifestyle clips on YouTube. You allocate your production budget based on actual search discovery and user intent rather than just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out from the metrics and the specific dashboards and look at the entire digital landscape, what is the ultimate takeaway from this Google update?
The ultimate takeaway is that the traditional model of the marketing funnel is completely dead. Customer behavior is no longer linear.
You mean that straight, clean line from awareness to consideration to purchase?
Right. We used to build strategies around this neat little journey. A user sees a Facebook ad, they click directly to the website, they put the item in their cart, and they buy. But reality is chaotic.
Very chaotic.
A customer today might discover your brand through a funny TikTok and then completely forget about you. 3 days later, they remember a keyword, they Google your brand, they watch a deep dive YouTube review of your product, they bounce over to your Instagram just to see if your aesthetic matches their vibe, and then maybe a week later, they finally navigate to your website to actually purchase.
Wow. So SEO and social media are no longer separate silos managed by different departments who don't talk to each other. They are one singular connected discovery strategy.
And that requires a fundamental shift in how we value content.
Which brings me to what I think is the most vital mandate to take away from all of this. We have to stop measuring our social media success purely by the initial wave of likes.
Yes.
We have been brainwashed by the platforms to chase that immediate dopamine hit. Getting 200 likes, 15,000 views, and 40 shares in the first hour, that's fantastic. It feels great. But a post's inherent value absolutely does not end when it inevitably falls off the feed. Social content has a second job now.
And that second job is long-term search discovery. You are no longer just posting updates. You are building a searchable library of answers for your future customers.
You are building lighthouses.
And if our social media posts are now living these complex double lives, designed for a quick, entertaining scroll on the TikTok For You page, but simultaneously being indexed for long-term, utility-driven discovery on Google search, it raises a pretty profound question.
Oh.
One that every creator, marketer, and business owner needs to reckon with as they move forward.
I love a good existential marketing question. Lay it on us.
As you sit down to plan your next video, write your next caption, or launch your next campaign, are you creating that content for the human being mindlessly scrolling on their phone, looking to be entertained? Or are you creating it for the search algorithm trying to interpret human intent and solve a specific problem?
Man.
And more importantly, with this update blurring the lines so heavily, is there even a difference anymore?
Oh, that is heavy. Are we entertaining the scroller or answering the searcher? I think the reality is that the best content moving forward is going to have to do both flawlessly. You have to build the fireworks so it catches their eye and stops the scroll, but you have to build it with enough strategic substance that it leaves a permanent lighthouse behind when the smoke clears.
A perfect way to look at it. The data is there now. It's just a matter of who decides to use it.
Well, that is a wrap on today's deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to understand the mechanics behind the screen. Next time you go to hit publish on a post, look at it through this new lens. Ask yourself what job that piece of content is going to do for you tomorrow and next month and next year. Until next time, keep building those lighthouses.